Hey, everybody. Welcome to our paranormal world. This is our first show on YouTube. If I set it up right, not sure I did, but I'm really super excited about that. So, thank you, everybody who is here with me tonight, everybody in the chat that's joined us. And tonight we've got a friend of mine who I'm really excited to have on the show and talk with because he's a really cool cat. I really enjoy any conversation that I have with him. So let's get Joe Breezy up here so that we can chat.
What up, everybody?
Say
Hey, Monica,
hey.
how you doing? Dude, your intro is so freaking awesome. I was like, dude, my first show, I didn't even, I'm like, hello, how's it going? And I like no music, nothing cool. you like come out busting out the gates like a champ.
Woo! Yeah, we can thank Tex for that. He put that all together for me.
Awesome.
I assure you, I could not have done any of that. So, yeah, thank you, Tex, of Texas Front Porch,
Yeah,
for
thanks, Tex.
slapping that together for me. He's a pretty cool guy.
That was
So,
awesome.
Joe,
Yes, ma'am.
what's new? I know that we were talking a little bit backstage
Mhm.
because Joe had a ghost hunt last week.
Or a
That
week
kind of
before last. Yeah.
The week before last, that kind of fell
Yeah.
apart, which
Yeah, it did, which is a
sucks.
bummer. But
Yeah.
yeah, apparently, so a buddy of mine, Richard Woody, he invited me to team up with him because he was going to shoot uh, B-roll for an investigation from RIP Paranormal. And he has a good friend of his that she owns what is now a jewelry store in Cibolo, Texas. And
Okay.
and apparently he's been there before. He's done it. He's done like a little one himself. Um, he caught orbs. Apparently there's a cowboy that walks in and out of the walls.
That's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, and he actually said it whenever he was doing it the first time that I guess maybe she might be part clairvoyant or something because she can see orbs and stuff like that. But she said they were going in and out of them, and he's not like he's a very down to earth dude. So he was
Right.
like, yeah, whatever, But he said that the next day he felt like he had like the worst hangover in the world. Like he felt drained. He felt physically ill. Like
Oh,
it actually got to him, I guess.
that's
And
interesting that it
yeah,
was leeching energy off of him, it sounds like.
right. I mean, coincidence, maybe, but maybe not.
Could have been.
Never know.
But I mean, do other people report that there that he's heard
Not
of?
that I know of. Not that I know
Yeah.
of. I haven't really gotten um, uh, too much information about that particular spot.
Hmm.
But he does go all around the San Antonio area. He's been on my show a couple times, and he goes to a lot of paranormal hotspots. Like he actually freaking it kind of made me sad, but he pretty much debunked the San Antonio the train tracks. You know what I'm talking
Oh.
about? Where the kids got apparently unalived in the school bus and they push your car off of the tracks.
I
And he,
swear, like every town has something similar.
mm,
I got Crybaby Bridge and the tracks where people, for one reason or another, are shoving you across.
yeah, and yeah, he was like, no, actually, he's like that originated in this state. I did my, and he went back to the records. He's like, there's no history of any school bus being hit by a train in San Antonio for the last X amount of years,
Okay.
and he was like, and actually, if you go there, um, with what do you call it? The like what do they call it? Like land survey equipment.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It looks like it's going up a hill, but geographically, it's really not. You're going
It's
downhill.
going down.
So, but it's just like an optical illusion.
Well, there's those kind of things I think in a lot of towns because I knew where I grew up, right, in Santa Rosa, out in California. Like, I want to say we had our own gravity hill. I think it was
Yeah,
down in Petaluma, but yeah, it feels like you're rolling like uphill or downhill, but you're going up. It's some crazy illusion.
yeah.
kind of thing. And
Yeah,
then there's like the Oregon Mystery House. Like there's all kinds of.
yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, that way out in the middle of friggin' nowhere too. And
Right.
you're like out in the
as long as
redwoods
I
or
lived
something.
out there, I never went to that place. Never went there. I should have gone.
Oh, you lived in Oregon?
Well, I used to vacation up in Oregon every summer. Like my cousins live in Oregon, so we'd be up
Okay.
there like every summer growing up. I'm
Did you
shocked
ever
my
have
grandparents didn't drag me up there.
Did you have any? Because that's like Bigfoot country, right? Did you ever have any high
Oh yeah.
strangeness as far as that?
Oh yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that happened, and at the time, I really, because I was young and I wasn't, an investigator, knowing what to look for. I didn't
Right.
think anything. I mean, it was freaky for sure, but looking back on it, like with the investigators' knowledge and eyes, I think that definitely there were a couple of times there was something like if it was Bigfoot or dog, I don't know what it was, but there was something one night that growled at us. So we were in the country, right? We were in southwest Oregon ish, kind of near Roseburg. I guess that's kind of southwest-ish. It was still pretty forested. We're not out in the eastern part where it's, arid, but we were rural. And my cousins lived in a valley, right? I called them mountains, where two hills came together. And there was
Right.
a creek that ran through the center of that, right? And my grandfather and my uncle built this bridge to cross the creek, and it connected my grandfather's property with my uncle's property.
Okay.
So when we vacation up there, we'd walk up and down the dirt road, right, to the bridge and up to my uncle's house. And the road was built up, I would guess, like 3 feet off the floor of the forest. And we were coming down the road one night. We were almost to the bridge, and something was like off in the forest. We, of course, couldn't see. Like I can see it in my mind. The moon was shining, so there was some light, but it was so overgrown. It was a hollow, and it was rustling. And then there was like a real deep growl, but it wasn't like something on all fours on the forest floor. I remember the sound coming straight at us as we were standing on the road. So whatever it was pretty large.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do it. That's you. Yeah. I
Yeah.
just go ahead and throw that one as a check.
Right. check.
Check on that one.
And then there was another thing that my cousin and I used to go running down to this bridge and back, and we called it the highway just because it was the only paved road in the area. It's like a 2-lane blacktop, but it was exactly a mile to this bridge and back to my uncle's house. And my cousin and we both did track and field. I did more field, and she was track though, like distance runner. So I couldn't keep up. I just never could. And I chalk that up to, being a Gen X kid whose parents like smoked like chimneys and rolled the windows up in the car while you're rolling around town. You know what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And anyway, we were coming back, and we were walking because I was winded, and there was something in the forest across the highway from us, because the forest came down and it was pretty dense. There was a little bit of clearing and a barbed wire fence, and then the rest of the slope, and then the highway. And then, the highway, we're walking on the far side, and then it sloped down the rest of the way to the creek on our right. So this noise is on the left, and whatever it is pacing us. It's keeping up with us. And if we stop, it would, take a step and stop. And then we'd start walking, and it would start walking, and we'd stop, and it would stop. And then my cousin just, every time something funky like that happened, she would just, think it was a bear. She's like, bear! And she took off and left me, the heifer. So she left me to die. So she took off, and I'm already winded. Like, I can't run anymore. I think I ran probably 20 yards, and then I was like, it's my time.
I gotta go.
And I remember she got there obviously way before I did. And this thing kept it up for a long time, and I was like, it's staying over there, so whatever. And she got there. She must have told my uncle there was a bear following us, because he started flipping out. He used to whistle really loud to get us attention. And I'm like, you can whistle all you want, man. It's not going to make me get there any faster.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I'm
I
not
already
dead on
got
the
a
side of the
stitch in
road.
his
Thanks for getting
side.
in the car and checking.
Yeah, I've been in a few situations like that. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Even if my life's in peril, I'm not running anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a good run. I had a good run
Right.
at 16 at that point, I guess.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was fun. I mean, looking back on it, but I mean, that's just a couple of things. There were some other things. Like I heard a scream one night that you will never convince me it was anything other than a Bigfoot like howl. Because it sounds very similar to one that's on one of those old 70s Bigfoot movies.
Right. Yeah.
I forget which one. My husband knows which one it is. Um,
Right. Yeah.
it's
Right.
the
What
one where they're
is
like,
I think I know exactly which one you're talking about. The one that was in like Louisiana or whatever. I can't. I'm drawing a blank. Damn it. Legend of Boggy Creek, maybe.
no, it wasn't. It wasn't like that when it was like because there was a dairy next door to us. So there were
Okay.
obviously dairy cows all the time. You'd hear mooing or whatever the hell it is they do. And it started out sounding like a moo, sounded like a cow just pissed off, right? And it
Right.
went like moo, and then it like went into this
Ah.
like sound, like very long. And
Yeah.
it was like 1 a.m. My cousins and I were goofing around. I just remember we had just bust out of the house giggling and stuff, like making a lot of noise. And this thing like rips off down. It was in the creek for sure, like off to the left of the house. And I remember we all froze. And my cousins, they grew up there. I'm thinking that doesn't sound like anything I've ever heard. But I mean, I don't live out here either all the time. They
Right.
freaked
Right.
out. They were like, we don't know what that is. And I remember that was the first time that I had like all the hair on my neck stand up. Like it all went whoo. And
Yeah.
then I was
No.
afraid to sleep in front of the picture window in the bedroom that night.
Yeah. No. If it spooked the locals, you're onto something.
I know, right?
Most definitely. Yeah,
So yeah, those are just a couple of things.
I've had a few of those too, where now that I know what I know, I look back and because we used to hang out in, it's a fairly good sized creek. It's like, well, back in the day, it was almost like the border between the city and where the country started in North Austin. And we used to hang out in the creek all the time. We'd stay, Gen X kids from from
Right.
9 o'clock in the morning to freaking almost time for sundown. And because it was a good mile, maybe 2 miles from the crib. But now that I look back at it, because we did hear tree knocks, but you don't really think nothing of it because
Right.
back then I didn't even know. And then I remember one time we were hanging out by the shore of the creek, and sure enough, big rocks start hitting the water, and we just
Ooh, that's freaky.
got the hell out of there. But I and I don't really say that like, oh yeah, I've had a Bigfoot experience because of that, because who knows, man, it could have been like a homeless dude, like, because there was a lot of them. And because it was weird too, because so one side of the creek it had like a shore, or what do you call it, shorn cliffside,
Yeah.
where it's just even. But at the bottom, there would be these huge, like 4 to 6 foot, almost like Stonehenge looking things. It'd be like two big ones and one laying on top. And you'd go in there and you'd see, canned beans and stuff like that. Like obviously, a pillow or whatever.
Right.
So, so homeless people were obviously using it. So could it have been? But now that I look back, it's like, it might have been. It's not. I'm not kicking it out of bed.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't it crazy, like, to look back at that as an adult? Like, you didn't think. I mean, I knew it was something weird at the time. I mean, the house specifically, I remember thinking that's Bigfoot because I mean, I grew up with those stories, right? I mean, it's Northern California where I grew up, and then of course Southwest Oregon. Like, and my grandfather loved those kind of stories and legends, and he really encouraged my brother and I to like read up on it, and he encouraged us in it. So I knew about the Bigfoot. I never in my life thought that there would be such a thing as a dog man, like a werewolf. And
Right.
I remember telling my brother, if there's such a thing as a werewolf, I will never go in those woods again.
Yeah.
So what did I do 6 months after I saw one? Right into the woods.
Right into the woods.
And
Right
not
into
just
the
any
mountain.
woods, the Gifford Pinchot, which is a creepy forest if you've been like deep in there.
No,
So,
don't even know about it. But yeah, I know what you
yeah.
mean though. Yeah, it's
It,
it's weird how you do that. You learn something, then you go, okay, I'm gonna take precautions. Then the first thing you do is go against everything. you know that you know all the warning signs. It's like being on a bad date and seeing all the red flags and going, yeah, we'll go out again.
yeah, it's so cool. For whatever reason, that person's really good looking, or you're just really interested in that cryptid.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And
Red
Bigfoot's
flags
not that
everywhere.
hot.
Not crazy. I can ignore those things. So, I mean, so you've had like that experience specifically when you were a kid. Like, what else have you had happen like down there? Because you
Well,
live down near San Antonio, right?
I live closer to Austin.
To
I'm like,
Austin.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm about 25 minutes from the Austin airport.
Oh yeah,
Austin
you're
Bergstrom, not the old one. Yeah.
okay.
But no, actually, I was on Blondes and Booze, and I do have for all the people that were listening, I do have a correction to make because I was talking about uh, uh, an alien thing and a missing time and a missing organ. But when I was thinking about it, at first I was like appendix because I couldn't, it was on the tip of my tongue and then I said gallbladder, but it was my spleen is what it was.
Oh,
But I was like, man, what it was my, because you'll watch, if when you rewatch it, I'm like appendix, no, not appendix. But I was thinking, I was like, it wasn't my uvula because my thought process was it was an organ that I didn't really need. You know what I
nobody
mean?
needs
So
that.
yeah, so I was just I was like trying to jumble it and I didn't want to like go you know. So I shot to what came to my head. But yeah. But no, I've seen I've had well, I grew up in a haunted house.
Cool.
Actually a couple of them. We used to live in a and it was weird. Every street around there, it was like named like Comanche Trail and Indian Head Drive.
Oh, sure.
So but yeah, we lived in a haunted house at night when you do the dishes. So we had this big like panoramic window that slid sideways instead of up and down, right in front of the sink. And when doing your chores, doing dishes at night or whatever, you'd see this thing standing, behind you. It kind of like either be leaning or it would be coming around the corner from like it was directly behind me, from the living room side of the house.
Right.
And it got to where it was like you couldn't really see its face. You could make it out. It wasn't like a shadow figure, because it wasn't all black, but it didn't really have any detail as far as its face. It was kind of just, kind of um, distorted, I guess.
Okay.
But he was definitely there. And then you turn around and there's nothing there,
Yeah,
you
no.
know. And then whenever you turn back, it's gone. You could chalk it all up to the imagination of a kid, but everyone in the house saw it. Whenever you would go down the hallway, it was almost like a blackness would follow you. You just felt it. It was like a thick,
Like a
blackness. And so,
heaviness.
yeah,
Yeah.
like a heaviness. Yeah. And so whenever we'd have to, this is, they didn't have like the wiring, I guess, in households back then, because you only had one light switch for the hallway instead of
Yeah.
where you have one on each side. You know what I mean?
I remember.
And yeah,
I
so
remember.
when you had to turn that light off, because the very back room in the back of the house is where we had our Nintendo. That was like our little, uh, it wasn't. I wouldn't say a game room because you just had one TV and a Nintendo in a corner and a radio.
Right.
But that's where we'd watch, Cinemax
So we'd hang out,
HBO and stuff like that.
try
Yeah.
to unscramble the Showtime.
Right. Yeah. That's a nipple. Yeah.
Exactly. I think I can tell.
Yeah, I could hear you fine. I just can't see anything. Hey, miss, you need me to clean your pool? But 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 yeah, so anytime you get done, on Saturday nights and Friday nights, you get done playing and it's time to go to bed, you kick that light off. And me and my brothers, man, it was, kind of like the same thing. Whoever lives wins, because I'm out running all of you. Each to each his own, man. You
Gotta outrun the slowest one.
Exactly.
I was always one of the slower ones. Thanks, parents, for that smoke, like hot box there. Like,
right.
I swear, like, I blame them. Like, my lungs never developed. Never, like, I still can't do distance.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way. That's why I don't worry about smoking now. I'm like, it was already ruined from the.
They were black by the time I was 10.
But it's crazy because my both of my uncles, because all my family were smokers and drinkers, and my uncles, one of them's 70 and the other's in his late 60s. Mm-hmm. And they freaking out smoke me. Like, they'll smoke like 3 freaking packs a day. And
wow.
have no problem with it. Wake up first thing in the morning, hey, and they'll be like, hey, you want a cigarette? I'm like, dude, I just woke up like 10 minutes ago. Yes, I do, but dang.
That's hardcore, man.
Yeah. And it wasn't until they got in their like 60s where I could even out drink them. I'm like a young, strapping lad. And these old men are like, Derek, what do you mean you had enough?
So the relaxation room back there that you guys had the Nintendo in, is that the room that you guys would have like instances occur in, or would it just be all over the house?
Well, the one thing that we did there, which of course nobody ever should, was a Ouija board one time.
Yeah, I think a lot of kids do that when they're young.
Yeah, because when back then, it was a Parker Brothers game.
Yeah, I mean, I could go. I think I got mine from Toys R Us.
Yeah, exactly.
You really don't think you're going to be able to summon the devil with something that you bought from Toys R Us?
Exactly.
You can summon an ambulance, but not the devil.
Yeah, no kidding. But I did have, so there was one time I remember like a hand slap on the window.
Wow.
That was like just out in the middle of nowhere. And it had a back door. So of course we went out there going, look, because our buddies lived across not across the street, but across the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And we always mess with each other. So, we went out there, but there's nothing out there. One of the freakiest ones I had in that room was, so how office lighting is, not like a regular light bulb, but how it has that mesh, kind of like a clear, translucent,
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about, for like
the
fluorescent lighting. Yeah, and one day I was in there by myself playing Nintendo, and I heard, bam, and I look up, and there's a shadow of a handprint on the opposite side of that translucent, whatever plastic stuff, and then it just retracted, and that weirded me out. But I was like, well, maybe someone was messing around in the attic. Fast forward a couple of years, and me and my buddy, we were going to skip school, so we literally went and hid in the attic until everybody in the house left. And I remember going, oh yeah, I'm going to go see if that's freaking possible. Because you're a kid, you don't know how stuff works. Right. So I'm thinking, that thing goes up into the ceiling, but no, it doesn't. And there's only one little hole for the wires to go down, and there's no, open point for a hand to get in there. And then plus, you don't think about it, but there's light bulbs in between that and what would be the ceiling, I was the first time I ever had incidents in that house. I was listening to B93.3 The Buzz, right? And I was laying in bed, going to sleep. This is on my alarm clock, and so I'm listening to the radio, and it was Depeche Mode came on, Personal Jesus, and it was the part where the musical solo is, the instrumental part in the middle of it, and where it's just doom 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 doom, and this voice came over there, but it wasn't just on the radio. It was everywhere. It was all around me, and it sounded like multiple voices at once, but very, very deep, very almost animalistic, and definitely not human.
Oh,
And
creepy.
and it said, "Give up your faith in God." Literally. And I was like,
I'm good.
"Oh," covers over my head. Yep, that's enough. We're officially going into full protection mode.
Covers all the way up.
Yeah. Shields up, stat.
Oh my gosh, that's freaky. Now, I don't know what I would have done if I heard something like that. I had a friend, okay, one of my best friends growing up, she had this dream. And I can't remember if it was a reoccurring dream for her, but I remember her telling me one time, and it creeped me out so bad, just her retelling it, that I still think about it, right? And I mean, we were probably like 13, 14 when she told me, and I'm 51 now, so it's been a minute. It still sticks with me. So we were at like a diner and eating, and it was like one of those old 50s diners. They used to have like the little radio looking things on the end of the table, right? And
Mm.
there was this one diner in Santa Rosa, I remember, and I can't remember the name of it, but I remember they had these, just those radio looking things, but they were napkin dispensers. But in her
Okay.
dream, these
They
things
weren't
were
the
like
actual
working
quarter deeples.
radios, right?
Right.
They were working radios in her dream. And she says it was playing music, and then all of a sudden, like this, like really like demonic voice came over and just like started telling her to do stuff. And it was like just being sinister and evil. And she was, I can't remember what it said to her specifically, but just her describing like this, just regular music is playing, and Casey Kasem or whoever is like, yeah, 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 top 40, yeah.
Yeah.
And then this, go kill your whole family, like comes through this thing,
That
And
went
I just
south quick.
remember thinking, yeah, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. And I remember like after, and it wasn't even my nightmare. And probably for a week after she told that to me, like when I would go to bed at night, I was like, God, I hope I don't like freaking hear something weird going on.
I know I'm gonna hear it. Yeah.
I can't with the voices. That freaks me out.
Yeah. Now there's a few of those. There's a lot of shadow, not shadow stuff, but like blocking, like, okay, the light under your door.
Yeah.
Like you'd see, like basically the blockage of the light, like someone's walking and standing right in front of the bedroom door. But,
Right.
And damn well the parents don't care about it. They're probably out there smoking a doob.
Hell
Don't
no, they
care.
probably forgot you
They're not
were
gonna
in
just be like, what are they doing in there?
They forget.
But yeah,
their kids.
but just a bunch of stuff like that. But I've had a lot of, I guess you'd call it ghost stuff go down. One of the only times I've ever been actually physically messed with was my buddy, dude. He was my best friend for years and years and years. He moved into a house, or it was a trailer, but that his buddy lived in before that, and his buddy John, and he told him, "Man, this place is hot." He's like, "Well, we're moving out, but you can rent it, but it comes with a warning, that there's
Right.
stuff in this house." And so they ended up moving in. I went in there. I don't give energy to any of that stuff, so I don't. I literally just don't care, because if I care, then I'm giving it energy. And it never messed with me at all. He'd talk about all these weird things, and his daughter being affected by it, and Just very weird, creepy stories. And I'm like, I trust the dude because, I trust him with my life kind of thing. And he's not,
Right.
he's known to be an exaggerator, but not a full on liar. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, well, maybe it could have been, it's an old trailer and blah, blah, blah. But he'd see figures in it, stuff like that. And I never saw anything. I never felt anything. And then one night, me and my fiance at the time, we were staying over there. We were all hanging out, drinking. And he has like a little island in his kitchen. And it's basically like a little bar, but
Mhm.
also his sink. And, how those little Palm Harbor homes are built. And I was sitting there drinking, doing my shots, hanging out, got my beer in front of me. And I looked down the hallway. So I'm just like, and this black, it was kind of like what people describe as a shadow person, but it was like a fog or a mist. It wasn't a figure. It came up over the crack of his bedroom door, which is, by the way, a lady died in that back bedroom. That was apparently the story behind it all. And she was an old elderly lady that passed away.
Mhm.
But yeah, anyway, I have some thoughts about that too. But
Yep, share that.
yeah, it came and it flowed out of the door, and I was like, dude, and I remember thinking, don't you effing do it, don't do it,
Don't do
and
it.
yeah, and it went and it went right through me and out,
Oh.
because I'm like sitting there, I'm sitting like this, but I'm turned like this. It went right through me,
Mm.
and I said, you mother. I literally said it out loud. I literally said it out loud, and within like not even a minute or two, I was like sick as a dog. I felt like
Really?
all my
Okay.
energy, my energy was gone. My stomach was like on the verge of puking. My head was
Oh.
like swimming. I literally had to have my fiance. I was like, dude, get me outside and have her like limp me to my car. And I laid in my car for probably about 20 minutes, like just trying to get to where I'm not spinning, I'm not wanting to puke,
That's
and it
horrible.
was, yeah, it was nasty, man. It was nasty. It pissed me off, is what it did.
Well,
Because I was like,
yeah.
dude, you're able to, you're able to mess with me. You know what I mean? And and ever since then, I never took any of his experiences for granted.
So
But
when it
he'd
touched
have
you, did you feel anything like I know you felt sick afterwards, but when it actually was, like, passing through you, did you feel anything?
no, it wasn't like I didn't get like the cold thing. I
Yeah, 'cause I
didn't
get
get
tingly.
any.
It's like not
Yeah,
really pins and needles, it's a static it's hard to describe it. It's not a pins and needles feeling, but it's a staticky feeling.
no, I just felt like a pressure,
Okay.
like a concussion. Like not
Mhm.
concussion,
Like a
but
concussive wave.
concussive wave. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it kind of, and I was like, oh, you mother.
You're
like,
right.
you
I
done
probably would
did
have
it
said something
now.
very similar.
When I get up there, me and you're gonna meet up behind the school.
We're gonna box.
Pull that crap. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only time I think that I can, off the top of my nugget, um, think of it that I've actually been physically um, affected or touched, scratched,
Right.
anything like that.
Yeah, it's weird when they touch you 'cause I thought one grabbed me and lifted my leg in bed and yanked me down the bed.
That's creepy.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, I know my body moved and I could swear like my leg was elevated and it had that staticky feeling, right, all around my
Right.
ankle. And it was just such a weird thing because it wasn't long after my son passed away, and I remember, like, I thought it was him coming into the room, right, that because you can feel energy coming in, and I
Yeah,
thought that it
absolutely.
it was him, and I remember, like, pulling my leg back going, no, Riley. Like that. I really don't think it was my son like trying to drag me out of bed in the middle of the night by
Right.
my ankle. But I mean, at the moment, that's just where my head went. So, I mean, yeah, it's not fun getting touched by anything like that.
Yeah.
You know,
No, yeah, no,
we've got some
definitely not.
questions from the chat. So, Freaky
Right on.
Geek, he's a little curious cat tonight. He's got all the questions here. He said, did I hear Joe say that you did the Ouija board alone?
No, it was me. I want to say like 2 chicks, and I'm pretty sure Ryan was there because me and him were inseparable. So there's probably about 3 or 4 of us. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you
And
didn't
it
do
was
it by
during one
yourself.
of the, it was during one of those, not a sleepover, but after party, a birthday after party kind of thing, where they
Sure.
let you watch horror movies, and then all right, y'all can watch movies till like 10 or 11 o'clock, and then everyone's parents picking them up, kind of a
Sure.
thing. Yeah.
I remember those. Like, I had to have to go to my friend Leela's house to watch horror movies because my dad wouldn't let me watch them, and I loved them.
Oh,
And then I'd watch. I remember seeing the original My Bloody Valentine and being so effing freaked out. I like wouldn't go down the hallway by myself. I was like, for sure that minor was like, "Come on, little girl, go to the bathroom."
yeah. My Bloody Valentine was a good one. I like that one.
It is
Even
a
the
good
remake
one.
wasn't bad. I can't front.
The remake wasn't terrible, but it didn't. I mean, that first one, I still as an adult watching that, and it's just because I have claustrophobia like in real life, and just the
Right.
thought of being in that mine, not knowing what tunnel goes where. This MFer can be anywhere, popping up
Yeah.
like a little jack in the box with a pickaxe, you know.
Yeah.
And then I remember the one guy that he shoves, like, he ties the rope around the guy's neck and kicks him off of a higher level,
Yeah.
and he doesn't land on the floor in a single piece. I remember all of that.
Yeah.
And it just, like I said, even as an adult, it still freaks me out. With the heart-shaped Valentine's candy boxes with the human organs inside.
Mhm.
I mean, I
Too
would say
cool.
anybody who's listening that hasn't seen it and likes horror movies, you need to go watch the original My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah, it's a must. Yeah,
It is.
definitely.
It's a classic, man. Um, so Freaky Geek also asked, this lady that passed away in the home you inhabited, did anybody say how she passed? Did you know that?
Apparently, see, that's where I was like, I have my own speculation on it. Apparently, she passed in her sleep, but she had like a son or a nephew or something that was taking care of her, and you know, there was like rumor about him, you know, excommunicado in her so he could benefit from the insurance.
Ah,
But I mean, that was all hearsay, so I can't speculate on it. But
right.
there
It
was that,
happens.
yeah, there was that whole, because she wasn't that old. Like when I say old lady, she's probably maybe 60s or 70s or something like that. But I never got the full story on it, so you know, I I just heard what I heard and went from
Right.
there.
See, my friend, she bought her first house. She lives up in Ohio with her husband. And they bought their first house probably like 15 years. It's been a minute. It's been a while. But anyway, well, they were in escrow, right? They're towards the end getting everything together. Like they're getting ready to close on this place. The lady that owned it prior to them was out front mowing the lawn one morning. This, like, I say little old lady, she's probably like in her 60s. She wasn't that old.
Right.
Now that I'm 50 something.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly where I was going with it. I'm like, she wasn't really that old. I mean,
Yeah, that's not bad at all, actually. So she was out front mowing the lawn for Melissa. Oh, I shouldn't have said her name. Anyway, she's not going to care. So she was out mowing the lawn for her because they were getting ready to close, like in a day or two on the home. And the neighbor next door uh, apparently didn't like getting woken up by a lawnmower, and he walked into the yard and unalived her, like right in the middle of the front yard just for mowing the yard. And I just remember thinking, holy cow. Number one, holy cow, like
Right.
getting sent out of the world in that manner. Number two, I don't know that I would really want to close on that house afterwards. I mean, it's a very cute house, but now all I'm going to think of is what happened in my front yard. And, believing the way I believe, and probably the way you do too, Joe, like she might be hanging out there like
Yeah.
for a hot minute because either she
Yeah.
doesn't know what's happening, she's angry over what happened. I mean, there are all kinds of reasons.
Right. Yeah. You wake up dead.
Yeah,
Don't even
pretty
realize
much.
it, Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's crazy.
and also, when people talk about that, you know, and because we're in our dimension, you know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
we take time totally different. So they could be, in their realm, they could be there for a split second, as a spirit, or 5 seconds or a minute or something until they realize what's going on. But in our world, it could be, massive amount of time. And that's why you see these people from, the 1800s, or however
Right.
long ago that, still walking around. And then the houses have changed. So, the structure of the house has changed. So when they'll be walking upstairs, they aren't there because back in the day there were stairs there.
Right. See, I would think that would be more of a residual, but like an
Residual. Yeah.
intelligent haunting. Could you imagine being stuck on a piece of land, right? And
Mm,
like the world's moving on, and you're like,
yeah. And you're well aware of it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. It's like that joke. It's how's it go? My roommate moved in and swears that the house is haunted, but I've been here for 300 years and I haven't seen nothing.
I don't know what he's talking about. He's crazy.
Been here for 300 years. I ain't seen nothing. He's
Ain't
crazy.
nothing wrong here. Like the TV show Ghosts. Have you seen that?
The TV show?
Yeah, there's the British version, which is the original one, and I think that British comedy is almost always the better version
Okay.
of it. Like I think the American Office is better than the Brit Office, but the Brit Ghosts is better than the American version in my opinion. But the American one is good. So anyway, it's about this manor that is inhabited by all of the spirits that died on the property. Like they
Okay.
all, not all of them, but the ones that are stuck there. And they've got like, it's hilarious. You've got like all the different periods in time and they are stuck in the manner in which they died. So there's a guy running around like he's constantly like literally losing his head.
I dig it. I dig it.
And
Okay.
there's like plague victims in the basement that can't come out of the basement. Like it doesn't sound like a comedy, but it is. It's pretty good.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. I totally get it. Yeah.
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 So Freaky
Yeah.
Deep asked a last question here, and it has to do with when that thing went through you.
Mm.
And he wanted to know if what you felt was similar to like vertigo.
Yeah, very, very dizzy. But it's weird because because I've had like anxiety attacks and stuff like that, but
Mm-hmm.
and you get usually the dizziness is what causes the nausea. You know what I mean? But
Oh, I get them too. Yeah, I get it.
it was opposite. It was like I physically felt ill before I felt off. If that makes any sense.
Sure.
But yeah, that was a mother effort, man.
Yeah.
I'd still stew about that because that's like, to me, it was like getting sucker punched and not having a chance to hit somebody back. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, and
Like,
you still keep me like, man,
tag you
next
back.
time,
You wait.
next time I see that fool, but I'm never gonna be able to see him. I hate
Yeah,
that.
that's not cool. Dude, what the heck? I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. I don't think I'd care to have anything like spirit through me. I don't know how else to describe it. Like, just,
Right. Yeah.
I'm good.
It's no
I'll take
bueno.
your word for it, Joe.
Yeah. And then I got another one. This one's pretty cool. I think I told this one on my channel. And I think I talked about it on someone else's channel, but because it's like one of my weirder ones that was witnessed by pretty much my whole family. So like on my dad's side, um, it was like right after Halloween, and my grandma got a letter from um, her daughter. Obviously, lives in Kansas, and so basically, it was kind of like a letter, like "Happy Halloween," blah blah blah. Blah. But look at this picture! Isn't this crazy? And it was my little cousin. He's probably maybe 4 years old, 3, 4 years old, little bitty tyke, and he's in his little Batman costume, and he's doing his little Batman pose, and the door behind him, right in the wood grain, there's this guy standing there, and you can see it clear as day. Like you could see round rimmed glasses, you could see buttoned up um, t-shirt, open jacket. You could see the watch chain, right? So, and it's clear as day, like no denying it. This is when you have to go like, Fox Photo or something to
Right.
get,
Go get it
it's
actually
not
developed. Come back like a week
right.
later and pick up your photos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because this was like I want to say it had to be after the Batman craze, so 89, 90, maybe something like that.
Oh,
Because
wow.
the Michael Keaton Batman, that was
Right.
1989. Um,
I remember them.
yeah. Damn. Damn, we're getting old. But so everyone's like, "Oh, that's creepy," well, what's up with that? And fast forward, I think it was the next summer. Yeah, this had to be 90. Yeah, probably the summer of 1990 or 1991. Um, my grandma invited me to go. They were going to go drive up there to Kansas to go visit. So I was like, yeah, I'll go. And yeah, this is right when uh it what was that freaking movie? It was the gang. It was like the drug dealer movie with Wesley Snipes and Ice-T was the cop. New
Colors?
Jack
Oh, New
City.
Jack City.
Yeah. Because I remember the soundtrack just came out. So we go up there, and the first night we get there, we got there kind of late, so everyone just kind of had dinner and we're chilling. It was time to go to bed, and so they had me sleeping on their couch, and you know whenever you experience these like haunted houses and stuff like that, there's a feeling that comes along with it. It's not just like, oh, you see something. A lot of the times you feel it before it actually, So growing
For
up
sure.
in the house that I did, I'm used to it. I know what it is, or I'm familiar with it, and I wouldn't say used to it. But um, so I feel the presence, right? And I'm instantly in cover mode. I'm already
Right.
going for the covers, and you could feel the footsteps. Because they had a basement. We don't have basements down here. Well, at least as far as town of Texas as I am.
Yeah,
But
we
you
don't.
could hear the hollowness of it. The doom doom doom. If
Right.
something walked up, and it's like basically stops right at my head, and you can feel it like looking down at you. And I was like, oh man, I was like, not here too, like I'm so tired of this crap. But so the next morning, wake up and everyone's having dinner and everything, and I mean breakfast, and everyone's sitting around the breakfast table or the dinner table, and I told them about the night before. I was like, man, was anyone and they're like, oh no, they're like, that's just the ghost, and I'm like, oh, that's
Pay
just the
it no
ghost.
mind. Yeah.
Right. And they're like, yeah, remember the picture? And I'm like, oh yeah. And it kind of came flooding back to me. I'm like, oh yeah, the picture. And they're like, yeah, that's the door right there. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, give it a little while, you'll see it. And I'm like, all right. So sure enough, getting into regular conversation and everything, and all of a sudden, I just happen to look up and I'm like, oh, there it is. And you could see the dude, and he's standing there, and I'd say he was about, you know, 5'5" or something, but you know, kind of short, and it manifested, and I watched it, and I'm like, oh, that's it right there. And they're like, oh yeah, and they're like, yeah, just keep watching. And so like I'm like watching it, and all of a sudden, all these others' faces start appearing in it. Like you'd see it just kind of like I don't know, it was weird.
Like
It was just
blooming
kind of
almost?
like the lines in the wood grain would move, and all of a sudden, and it's not like pareidolia or whatever, it's not it wasn't like that. It was manifesting. And
Man.
and then my grandma or my aunt was like, yeah, look at his outfit and stuff. And I started looking at it, and it starts looking like military, like Civil War, like you could see just the way that the jacket went, the whole 9 yards. And she's like, yeah, I think that's like a Civil War dude, like a general or something. And like all the other ones that are coming in, those are like soldiers and stuff, and because he looked higher ranked, like he wasn't
Right.
he had like this, like I said, the spectacles and the watch chain and stuff like that. Like he didn't look like yeah, like a foot soldier type of guy. And then so she's like, so yeah, because they live on this big hill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, yeah, this hill was where a Civil War battle took place, and she's like, it was huge, and it was a big time thing. And she's like, come here, I'll show you something. So go to the kitchen window, and out in her backyard there's a fence line, cemetery on the fence line, right on the other side of the fence. There's 4 old headstones in her backyard. And she's like, yeah, this part she just recently kind of, because I was talking to her about it, and so I didn't know it at the time, but one of those headstones was like signed or mentioned, and had like Ulysses Grant was like involved in it somehow. Yeah. And so so she went, and I'd actually have to pull the text up, but she went and she figured out who the 4 people that were actually buried on the property were. But yeah, it was a time of a big battle. So she's like, and you want to see something else that's cool? And I was like, all right. So she's like, look at his legs. So you look down, and his legs stop at the bottom of the door, like mid shin. And she's like, she grabs the door and she opens it, and it's like 2 little steps till you hit the ground. So it's like he's standing on the ground, and that's why he's so short, yeah. And after that, man, I was like, dude, so we're going home.
Yeah, right.
Oh, you mean we got to spend another night here? Oh,
I mean, just seeing like the wood grain manipulating itself, like, that's
yeah, it was weird, but it wasn't like, it's hard to explain. It wasn't like it was like
rippling. It wasn't like rose red where it's like forming.
Right. Yeah. It wasn't like, it just kind of, it would just like phase, and then all of a sudden it's there.
That's crazy. That's still
yeah,
crazy.
it is.
It reminds me of like the shadows I saw on the wall that would move when I was a kid. Like, right, it would form different things.
Right.
Yeah. That's freaky. That stuff freaks me out.
That was a very good one, because like it literally had me, but she was like all cool with it. She's like, no, actually he watches over the kids, and he's a good dude. He doesn't cause any trouble. And, he doesn't, there's nothing ominous about it. It wasn't malicious or nothing like. She's like, he has a really like a positive presence, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but I'm still like, call it what it is. But it could be Casper the Friendly Ghost, but it's still a ghost.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And it's still, I mean, because how old were you when this was going on? Were you still
so yeah, if this was about 91,
come on now, I was 18 in 91.
Yeah, no, it had to be. No, it couldn't have been 91.
Let's see, I graduated high school.
Yeah, no, like I said, it was 89, 90. Yeah. So I was, Yeah, I was like 11 or 12, maybe something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I was born in 78, so yeah.
Oh, you're only 5 years younger than me then. So you're.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm right.
I was 18, you would have been like 13 then. You'd have been 13.
Yeah, I'm right on the border of the Gen X crew. I got 2 years until I would have been a
Hey,
damn
you're
millennial.
solidly in it. It's the people in 80 that are on the border. They're on the cusp. But we'll just roll you in because.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm still in. Yeah. A lot of people are like, I was born in, 1982, and I'm like, you're close. Yeah. Did you have older brothers? All right, then you're in.
Well, I guess you're indoctrinated if you're like the youngest of 4, and everybody was born before 80, and you just happen to be the surprise kid. Yeah, I can see. Everybody else was raised Gen X at that point. You were just drug along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly.
And what a ride. I think about that a lot. Like, there's no way I would let my children do what I did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
They threw my butt out the front door and were like, sayonara.
Yeah. No communication, no nothing. You're just out in the world.
If you get thirsty, the hose around the corner. There's a hose around the corner.
Let it run long enough, it'll get cool.
Yeah. Hot garden hose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's funny because like my youngest son, he's fixing to turn 10 in November, and he just got to where mom doesn't like it, but I think he's big enough to sit up front, in the front seat. And she's like, oh, I don't know.
Do it. He's 12.
And he's a big kid. I mean, he's probably like 5'4", maybe 5'3", 5'4",
he's almost as tall as me.
And he weighs like 120 pounds. I'm like, dude, you're a dude. but like, yeah, but he's like sitting there. He's like, wow, that's so weird riding up front. He's like, whenever you were a kid, wasn't it weird whenever you were able to ride up? I was like, dude. As long as you weren't in a baby freaking, like an actual baby car seat, you were up front and you had no seatbelt, and your mom's arm was your seatbelt.
Oh, yeah, or that. Okay, so I remember rolling around in my grandfather's station wagon, right? Because I would split my time. My father raised me as a single dad for a good chunk of my childhood. And he bought a house down the street from my grandparents. So my brother and I spent quite a bit of time with my grandparents. And my grandfather had this, which was, I'm sure, a cutting edge automobile for the time, right? It was this massive station wagon. My dad called it the Sherman tank. It was like the biggest thing I've ever seen. It was like a land yacht. But he had these white leather seats. So station wagon with leather seats. But every time he would take a turn, I remember sliding across the back seat because they were bench seats, right? They're not the bucket seats that you have in today's cars. So yeah, and no seatbelt. I didn't even know what a seatbelt was.
Why?
Yeah, it wasn't until my stepmother came along because she was an insurance adjuster and she would work car accidents. And she was like, no, everybody in my car wears seatbelts. So that's when I was like, indoctrinated.
Got introduced, yeah.
But prior to, and I remember getting pissed that I had to put a seatbelt on. I'm like, I was like, haven't done it up till now. I don't need it.
Right.
And I remember, oh my gosh, like my dad had a Pinto. Those things used to explode if people would them. And I remember, thank God I wasn't in the car, but my dad had my little brother in the car and somebody rear-ended him. And that's about the time when they were figuring out, like, they were pretty easy.
The gas tank's right behind the bumper.
Yeah. Yeah. They would just like balls of flame.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if the gas lines like cracked because of, the rubber getting hard, it would drip right onto the exhaust. And,
of course it would.
Yeah. Boom.
What a time to be alive. What a time to be alive.
Well, that's how you like learn to love life when you go, damn, I survived all that. Man, I really
I mean, I used to
yes.
go catch tadpoles, like, because my dad's house was at the end of a dead end street, right? And anytime it would storm, the street would flood, and it would stay flooded for a while because I guess the city just didn't give a crap about drainage. So I would go out there, and there would be like, it seemed like hundreds of just pollywogs, and I would go out there and catch the pollywogs and the tadpoles, and I'd try to keep them alive to watch them morph with their little legs popping out. I don't know that kids do that anymore.
No,
You know?
they're too busy
Yeah. I
doing
remember one
that.
time the street lights came on and I didn't get home fast enough. I got in a lot of trouble for that too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just funny because I tell him all these stories. He's like, what? He can't fathom it. You know, he's just like, what? And I'm like, yeah, dude. I was like, man, okay. I was like, imagine if when you got in trouble, instead of getting all your computer and your phone and your video games taken away, imagine if we just kicked you outside. You know, I was like, that's our punishment, was being grounded. If you were grounded, you were stuck in the house. It was the most horrible thing in the world. You're like, dude. They love to be in the room, you know, stuck in the room. Do it. They don't want, you know, they're like little freaking goth kids. They see the sun and they're like, you know,
Yeah.
you know,
My
it's
son's
like
the same way. He's like, do I got to go out? Like, I don't want to go out.
exactly.
There's bugs and stuff out there. And I remember like watching my son play in the front yard. And he's a good kid. He's a sweet kid. I mean, he'll like, I remember he was digging worms up with me, right? Because I've actually got good soil. I've got a lot of earthworms in my front yard, but I was surprised he picked them up. Because any other time there is any other kind of insect anywhere in the immediate vicinity, he's flipping out. And I just remember watching him screaming and running away from like a butterfly once. And I was like, oh, he's not going to be a camper. Thinking we're not going to be able to take him out into the woods.
Yeah.
For
Actually,
a while.
Day before yesterday, my son, he's in the kitchen and he comes running in and he's like, Dad, like there's a spider in there on the ground. I'm like, well, freaking smash it, dude. Like, what did you freaking go? And he's like, what do you mean smash it? I'm like, grab my shoe over there, run over there and smack that, you know.
Grab a book and drop it on
like,
it.
he just looked at me like, have you lost your damn mind?
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I got to agree with the spider thing. Like, I ain't getting anywhere near them damn things. Like, I had the brown recluse I had on my back wall. I just hosed it off in diatomaceous earth because I couldn't find like spray that I knew for sure was going to kill it. And I was like, slow death for you, brother.
Right.
Diatomaceous earth all over you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, Pancho. Yeah. Don't teach him to kill. But I wouldn't have killed it. But my wife is definitely afraid of spiders, so it's a must. Like she's like, yeah, she'll. I'm like, dude, it's a little wolf spider. Like they're good. They, you know. She's like, I don't give a shit. It is dead. You know. I'm like, all right,
dead. But I got to tell you, like, okay, so the brown recluse had to go, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And I let it live for a long time because I didn't realize it was a freaking brown recluse. I was like, oh, he's my little friend by the back door, because my house is weird. I've got two entrances in the back. I've got two back doors. So it's like in the in between where there's bugs and, you know, crap fly in when you open the outer door. It's like an airlock.
Right.
And I was like, oh, he's just eating the pain in the ass mosquitoes that come in and, you know, all the moths and shit. And he's just minding his own business on the wall. And then one day, I mean, he started growing and I was like, oh, looky there. All right. Sorry, friend.
Wait until you have a freaking $50 size hole in your arm.
Yeah, right. And I was like, sucks to suck. You got to go. So I hooked it up with diatomaceous earth and then made my husband go like fully get rid of it.
Yeah, I got hit by a brown recluse and it messed me up. Like I had to go. I eventually, after like day 4, I ended up going to the ER.
Yeah, no.
I mean, you can ask anybody. Like just recently, I get hit by that copperhead, or that's what I think it was. Yeah. And I still didn't go. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, once that hole starts opening up, Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, that's stitchable.
That's not normal.
Yeah,
That
that's not
requires
right.
sutures. So,
I'm
I mean,
smelling.
like I said, like if it's venomous, it's got to go. If it's a venomous spider or snake, it's got to go. But otherwise, like I try to leave them alone, even though I'm terrified of them. If
Right.
they try to share the same bed as me, they got to go. If they're too close to where I may be unconscious for hours at a time,
Yeah. Yeah.
you got to go. But other than
Yeah.
that, like you're free to eat the bugs. I don't care. Just stay the hell away from me.
Right. Yeah. I don't mind them. But like I said, Jen, in the end, the woman is always the one who's gonna fix the
I know.
law, so to speak. So yeah, I'm not allowed to have. I'm like, dude, they're good for like they'll get all that stuff. Because
When
we
the
live out in the
commercial.
country. We live
Oh yeah.
out in
Oh,
the
you guys
boonies.
live out in the country, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You're gonna get
So
more than I do.
like our one of our big things is scorpions. Them things. Every year it never fails. You know, they'll come in and you'll throw on a pair of jeans that have been sitting on the couch or something. Because I'm too lazy to hang my clothes up. Jen's always
Yeah.
like, hang up your damn clothes. I'm like, dude, they're fine on a little spare couch. Like they're not going anywhere. Throw a pair of jeans on and tack tack tack, get hit 3 or 4 times and rip them off. Oh, son of a
Damn it.
yeah,
Yeah.
damn scorpions. Never fails.
Poncho says he's the kind of kid that would scare people with tarantulas. I would gather snakes out in the cow pasture in the horse fields, put them in a bucket, and then throw them on my cousin.
That is ruthless.
I remember because he had a friend over and they lived in this like little like granny unit behind my uncle's house, and they were being jerk. They're just pain in the butts. And my cousin and I were out in the field and we were catching like rat snakes and garter snakes. And we had I don't know, like the feed bucket for the horses, right? And I was like, throw it in there. I think there's like one or two. And I knew he was afraid of snakes because my uncle's terrified of them. So I remember knocking on the door and it was perfect because he answered the door with no shirt on. Like kids in the 80s did, right? No shirt, just, ripped up or
Yeah.
cut off jeans. He's like, what? And I was like, whoa, like I was throwing water on him, but the snake hit his stomach and coiled like when it hit. And I was like, oh, perfect. And then I turned around and hauled ass.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you're running for your life at that point.
Yeah, I was. And he eventually caught up to me, but man, what's the shock?
Yeah.
I probably pissed himself too. But
That
it's
is,
with the memory. It's the memories, right?
yeah,
It's the
absolutely.
memories. You do it for the memories. So
That is ruthless.
we've
I
hit
look at you in a totally
we're
different.
over an hour.
Yeah,
And it's 11:11. That's a good time to stop, right?
sure, whatever you want to do it.
All right. I actually have to go to bed because I've been working all day and
Right on.
I got up at I got up before 6 this morning. I think I got up at like 4:30 this morning.
Jeebus. No, I switched up my schedule, so I don't even go to work until noon. So
Sweet. I'd love
yeah,
to be able to do that.
yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Awesome. Joe, thank you so much for coming on. You want to tell everybody your YouTube channel? Because I think everybody needs to go check out your podcast.
Right on. Yeah, y'all can find me at the Breezy Speakeasy. Like I was saying earlier, I would say like, tomorrow I'll be on blah, blah, blah. Tomorrow I will be on PRT Roundtable.
Yeah.
And with you, of course. And Saturday I'm trying to line a show up. Hopefully my guest gets lined up, and we're gonna do some Texas haunts and hot spots, and then and then I play it by ear pretty much from there. So I recommend just hitting the notification bell and just keeping an ear out for it, because sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes, I have guests that are friends of mine or family of mine, and they're just as unreliable as I am. So, I'm like, we're going on in an hour, right? And you're like, oh, dude, I forgot. I got a chick coming over. I'm like, Well,
Okay, we'll reschedule.
yeah, I'll give it another week, But yeah,
Awesome.
so yeah, check it out. Like I was on saying on Blondes and Booze, it's a very lax back channel. That's why it's the speakeasy because anything goes. So sometimes I'll just have people on there, kind of like the second half of this show where you're just talking about random stuff, or I'll have people from old friends from when we were kids and telling old stories, and some of them aren't exactly appropriate for younger viewers because when you're a teenager and in your 20s, a lot of those stories aren't. But and same with as far as language goes, we
Well,
tend to keep it
yeah.
loose.
I had to mark the show as not under 18, I think, when I was setting it up.
Yeah.
Because I can't help it. I cuss like a sailor in real life. It's gonna slip out.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah,
So, well, everybody go check out Joe's show, and maybe one day you'll see me on there drinking with him and telling stories about being Gen X and horror
yeah, hell
movies
yeah.
and all that stuff.
Yeah, anytime you ever want to come on, just let me know. I'm
Yeah.
down. Sometimes and I'm bad about that. I don't always think to invite people. So if and that goes for any of y'all, text, BMR, Donnie Cho, if you just hit me up and be like, hey man, when's the night you want to do a show? And I'm totally down.
I think
I
we
just
should
don't.
all start day drinking one Saturday, you, me, and Cho, and then hit the airwaves, because that would be interesting. Because Donnie's exceptionally entertaining when he's a little
Yeah.
liquored up.
See, yeah, I'm the same way. I start getting to where the gloves come off, so to speak, and you just start being real about a lot of stuff that you try to be, slide around.
Proper about like
Yeah,
regularly.
exactly.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, I mean, thank you so much for having me on your show, and especially the fact that it's the first one. Like it's a real honor, and it's truly and greatly appreciated. Like, you got no idea. I was like, what? First
Yeah.
show? Oh, man.
I appreciate you coming on. I know, like, well, we're on PRT, and even when you come on like Texas shows, like when we were doing the Night Owl shows, like I just really enjoy talking with you. You're a cool guy. You got a lot of info. I mean, Joe's a really, really cool guy, very smart, got a lot of info out there about many different things. So I really, really encourage everybody who's listening to go check out Breezy Speakeasy over on YouTube and listen to his previous shows and hit the subscribe button and check out his upcoming shows, because I promise you're not going to be bored. You're going to
You
be
won't be
very
bored.
entertained.
You may be like, dude, this dude lost his damn mind, but you won't be bored. But yeah, I've always felt the
We all
same
go a
about
little mad sometime, right?
right. But I always felt the same about your energy. We match energies very well, and I enjoy our back and forth. Even when we're
It's
on
the
PRT.
Chiricahua.
Yeah,
The
right.
ancestors talking.
Chiricahua and Crips. I mean, come on.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. No, I wasn't in them. I just happened to be located near them.
But I'm just saying, it's like, what? No way.
I know, right? That's crazy. Okay, well, you have a good night, Joe. Thank you so much again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
You
I had a lot of
too.
fun. We'll have to get you back on here soon. And again, everybody go check out Breezy Speakeasy.
Right on. God bless everybody, and y'all have a great evening, and keep searching for the truth, because it's out there somewhere, and we just might find it.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. We'll talk to you soon.
Right on.
Bye. Okay, everybody, that's going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for showing up and tuning in for my first show on YouTube. I really appreciate it. And hopefully you were entertained. And again, I can't suggest Joe's podcast enough, because he's, like I said, he's a really cool guy. You'll be entertained. So until next Thursday, I will bid you all adieu and hope you have a good night and a good week and a weekend. And we'll see each other again soon. Bye.